Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience, and I'm here tonight with the second part of my review of the Fischer Audio M12s headphone. First, I'd like to say I'm sorry for taking so long to get back with the part 2. I've had these for almost 2 months now, so I'd like to apologize to my subscribers and to Fischer Audio. And I'm sorry for the wait. I've been really busy with my second job, and also I've had a few mixed feelings about these. I like them, but there was a few things that I was a little bit confused about what I was hearing. So it took me a little bit of time to figure out exactly what was going on, and so I'm going to talk about that a little bit tonight. Part 1 was more of, showed you the headphones, gave you all the specifications and all that, and I'll cover that real briefly tonight. But I just touched a little bit on the sound in the first video, and I'm going to try to get a little deeper into that in the second part. And once again, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. It is extremely warm in my house right now, 95 degrees again today. Had to shut off the air conditioning to do this video, and with the bright lights, if I get a little sweaty, I apologize. So anyway, this is the Fischer M12s. It's made by Fischer Audio out of St. Petersburg, Russia. This headphone currently sells for $479 up to $507, depending on the wood you choose. They all have a solid wood ear cup. This is not a veneer. And there's several different types of wood available. I'm not sure what these are. I'm guessing this is either an oak or a walnut. This is a full-size over-the-ear headphone, and it is a semi-open design. Looking at the grills, it looks like an open headphone, but not that entire grill area is open. Actually, there's just 4 small ports inside, about 1/4 inch each, that create the openness of this. It has a 50 millimeter dynamic type of driver. They have an impedance of 32 ohms, and Fischer claims a sensitivity of 112 decibels at 1 milliwatt. But I do have to question that. They are easy to drive, but I don't think they're quite that efficient. In my experience, I mean, that would be up at the more efficient end of IEMs, and I think they're more similar to like a Grado 80R, or what is it? Anyway, the Grado SR80E. And the Kennerton Valley are both at about 100 decibels at 1 milliwatt, and I would say these are probably closer to that than the 112. But anyway, maybe Fischer Audio knows something I don't. Also, Fischer Audio claims a weight of 325 grams, and I pointed this out in the first video that I came up with 387 grams on my kitchen scale, and I believe it's pretty accurate. So a little bit of a difference there too. The ear pads are very thick, very soft. There's sheepskin on the outside, and the inside is a velour. The part that touches your face and the inside edge of it are all velour. Very, very soft. They have a self-adjusting headband, a spring steel type of, well, the head strap is adjusting. The headband is a self-adjusting, or it's a spring steel design, similar to like on the Meza 99 Classic, that type of thing. They, I would say, are average weight for a full-size headphone. They're actually very comfortable in my opinion. They're very easy to put on. They adjust to your head automatically with the adjusting strap. Easy to position, feel extremely comfortable, very light, very soft ear pads. So comfort is not an issue at all with these headphones. One of the best I've experienced. The cable that comes with these is about 2 meters long, or about 6.5 feet. It's got a cloth covering, it's soft, it's flexible, doesn't make any noise rubbing on itself. It is a single plug design. It only plugs into the left ear cup, so you've got your wire going across to transfer the signal over to the right ear cup. The connection at the headphone end is a 3.5 millimeter stereo plug. The other end is also 3.5 millimeter stereo, and it does come with a 6.3 millimeter or 1/4 inch adapter. Where we go from here? I guess time to talk about the sound a little bit. In my first video, I pointed out that these have a V-shaped tone balance, and I'd only listened to these a couple times at that point when I did my first impressions, and I still agree with that. The tone balance is V-shaped, but I don't think it's as V-shaped as I thought it was in the beginning. They do have a little bit of emphasis in the bass and a slight emphasis in the treble, and the mid-range in a few places is slightly set back, a little bit recessed. So yeah, I would call it V-shaped, but not as extreme as I originally thought. In fact, I was kind of, I think I pointed out a few minutes ago that I had a few second thoughts about this headphone, and not that I didn't like it, but I was a little bit confused about the sound. And basically what that means is when I would first put these on, something sounded just a little bit different compared to some of my other headphones that I really like. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I couldn't identify where that difference was. And it took me a lot of listening, and I did a little research. I actually found some frequency measurement charts on RRA reviews. And I personally, I don't have a way to measure the frequency of these yet. I'm not set up to do that, and hopefully someday in the future I will be. But anyway, I wasn't able to measure it, and I sensed a few dips, a couple places where it just sounded like some of the sounds were set back a little bit. And according to this measurement, it looks like compared to some of the other headphones that I would consider very neutral, that there seems to be a little bit of a dip at 500 hertz, which would be the upper end of your bass, the lower end of your mid-range, and another little bit of a dip at 2000 hertz, which would be the upper end of your mid-range and getting into your lower treble. So I think those two dips are why I feel that the mid-range is slightly recessed, but it's really not that drastic, and it just it changed the sound a little bit, you know, compared to some of my other headphones. And the fact is, though, that feeling of, you know, the mid-range being slightly recessed only lasted a couple minutes. After I listened to these for a few minutes, everything seemed to balance out, and they really sounded good to me. So that's why, you know, I kind of had mixed feelings. I'd first put them on, and they sounded like the mid-range was just a little bit distant. And I like a really neutral headphone. That's just my preference. If you'd caught me like 10 or 12 years ago, I would have liked more bass. But right now I like a neutral headphone, and I like a little bit more presence in the mid-range. But like I said, once I listened to these a few minutes, I mean 5 minutes tops, and they sound really good to me. So, you know, like I said, I was a little bit confused about what I was hearing. As far as the extension, they have very good extension in the bass. They go down really low. They have good extension in the treble. I don't detect any roll off. Real good detail and resolution. And I'll give you a comparison to a couple other headphones in a minute as far as that's concerned. The sound stage I would consider medium size. I mean, it is a semi-closed back design, so it's not huge. But, you know, even compared to open back headphones, I'd consider it sort of medium sized. The imaging and separation are both good in my opinion. I don't hear sounds blurring together. I can hear the instruments coming from separate locations. And so part of my mixed feelings on this was I'd only tried this on a couple of amps until just recently. In fact, tonight, before I did this review, I wanted to refresh my memory of this headphone. And I dragged out a couple of other headphones to compare it to, and I actually used 4 different amps comparing it. And up to this point, I think I mostly used my benchmark HPA2, which is a very neutral solid state amp. And my reference amp is the Audio GD Master 9, which I also consider to be very neutral. Okay, I hadn't really tried it on any other amps, I don't believe, until this evening. And since I got these, Kennerton sent me their Atlas amp, which is a tube hybrid type of amp. And it did change the sound a little bit, and for the better. And I also tried these on the Felix Audio Echo, which is a all-tube OTL design, and it can drastically change the sound of headphones. Some headphones for the better, some for the worse, and I plugged these into that, and I really like the way they sound with the Echo. So that was a really pleasant surprise. And basically, like I said, the mid-range sounds a little bit recessed. The only problem I had with this headphone, and it depends what I compare it to, but if so I'll give you a couple of comparisons here. First I'll compare it to the Kennerton Magni, which is a very similar design with it, but it's closed back and it has a different driver. It has a, what is the driver in that? I can't think of it right now. It's a different material. Anyway. The Magni is a headphone that I really, really like a lot. I highly recommend it, but it is almost $300 more expensive than this one. Compared to the Magni has a really rich, thick, creamy mid-range, a little bit warm of neutral, and these lack that. These, they just don't have that rich creaminess to the mid-range. The mid-range to me can almost sound a little bit on the cool side of neutral, and female vocals can sound just a little bit shouty to me. I noticed it with Sarah McLachlan, and I also noticed it with Tori Amos, but I was using a very neutral solid state amp at that time, and what I found out tonight is if I plug this into the Kennerton Atlas, which, like I said, is a hybrid type of tube amp, it does warm it up a little bit. It takes a little bit of that edge off of the shoutiness of the female vocals. And I mean, it's just slight. It's not annoying. It's not distracting. But it's just not, you know, the creaminess of the Magni. So anyway, the Atlas did make an improvement, and when I plugged these into the Felix Audio Echo, it really made a big difference and really warmed up the mid-range of these and gave it a lot more weight, and pretty much completely got rid of what I thought was kind of a shoutiness to the female vocals. So kind of depends on the amp, you know. I'm not 100% crazy about this plugged into a neutral solid state amp, but apparently this headphone works really well with tube amps, and I really like the way it sounds with the Felix Audio Echo. That's been the case with more than one headphone that I've thought was drastically improved by that amp. So anyway, another headphone I'll compare this to, because would be the Hi-Fi Man Sundara, and originally the Sundara was $500, so put it right in the same price category as this, and the Sundara happens to be on sale for $350 right now. But comparing the two, I went back and forth tonight, you know, comparing them directly to each other, and the fact is the mid-range and treble are pretty similar between this. And I would say the detail on this is very close to the Sundara. The Sundara is very, very detailed. And this is not quite there, but very, very close to the Sundara in the mid-range and treble. And as far as the bass, I would say this thing walks all over the Sundara in the bass department. This definitely, without a doubt, goes lower into the sub bass, and it's got a lot more weight to the mid bass, both the sub bass and the mid bass. It just has more weight and more impact. I mean, basically the Sundara, you'd probably have to boost the bass about 4 or 5 decibels to get to the same place this is. The treble, I would say just slightly a little more treble presence than the Sundara, maybe a 1 or 2 decibel boost on the Sundara to put you in the same place. So yeah, compared to the Sundara, which is very neutral in my opinion, this is slightly V-shaped. But like I said, and then the Sundara, I would say the female vocals are just a little bit smoother than this. They don't, where this plugged into a neutral solid state amp, like I said, the vocals sound just slightly thin and just slightly shouty, where the Sundara, they are smoother, but if I plug this into a tube amp, that goes away and the vocals actually sound very similar to the Sundara. So if you like the Sundara but think it lacks bass, you will probably really like this headphone. In fact, I think what I'll probably do in the coming weeks when I get a chance, I'm probably going to do, because they're similar price, I'm probably going to do a direct comparison of this headphone and the Sundara, and then maybe a direct comparison of this and the Kennerton Magni, since they are very similar headphones, although the Magni is a bit more expensive. So anything I don't like about this? Not really. I mean, it's very comfortable. I think I would prefer a double cable, you know, with a plug in each ear cup, but you know, I can live with the single. Excellent ear pads, very comfortable, light. The only thing, like I said, I really like neutral sounding headphones. This is a little bit V-shaped. I can totally live with that. I really like the way this headphone sounds, and there's, like I said, a couple dips at 500 hertz and 2000, and once in a while something sounds a little distant if it hits in those frequencies, but other than that, you know, very enjoyable. And then, like I said, the female vocals can sound just slightly thin and slightly shouty, but plug this thing into a tube amp like the Felix Audio Echo, and that goes away. And in my opinion, hooked up to that amp, this is an excellent headphone. So can I recommend this? Yeah, if you were okay with a slight V-shape to the tone balance, and you know, like that little bit of extra boost in the bass, and like I said, very good extension, good impact. It's a dynamic headphone too. I notice also up in the like cymbals and snare drums, there's real good impact here, and cymbals really stand out and very clear. So anyway, if you're okay with a slight V-shape to the tone balance, and especially if you want to hook this up to a tube amp, that's my recommendation. Like I said, hooked up to a solid state neutral amp. I'm not crazy about the female vocals. Like I said, just slightly shouty, but hooked up to a good tube amp, that fixes that problem in my opinion. And if you're gonna hook this up to a tube amp, yeah, I definitely recommend this headphone. And once again, matches real well with the Kennerton Atlas headphone amp, and also with the Felix Audio Echo. And so that's about it. I'm going to wrap this up. Once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience, and if this video has helped you make your decision, please give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you're all welcome to join us at the Headphone Experience on Facebook. Thank you.